Hi and welcome to the channel. Have to bear with me, I'm suffering from a real, I think it's flu or whatever, I don't know what I've had, but we've all had it, all the family, and it's really been a shocker. I usually sort of get rid of a cold after a couple of days, but this has been going on for its second week and there's coughs and everything. Anyway, you don't know about that. So what's my vlog about today? Well look, first of all, thanks for everybody who's been watching the camper van, the Comet of Fiona's. That was a lovely day I had with Fiona. It was a real super day, and she really is a talented lady. She was showing me some of the songs that she'd written, and she's very, very good. She's a very good artist as well, and also she showed me some books. She's got possibly lined up for children from her own experiences, and I was really blown away, to be quite honest with you. But anyway, a big thank you again for Fiona for letting me take a Sunday afternoon up, and for the lunch as well. Now, I've heard of two more dealerships sort of closing now. Maybe that's a bit unfair to say dealerships, because it's a dealer closing two satellite branches. That dealer is Catterick Leisure, up near Catterick, of course. I've not been up there for a long time, must be a good 10-12 years since I've been up there. I used to go up there quite a few times. They're not far from Ropers, who are big sort of main Bailey dealers. Catterick Leisure, when they had the Discover Group, who bought Barons and people like that, and Hanson Dorset and Arthur Fitt Caravans and Harringtons, and then went bust, and all those dealerships just went. That was about 2009-10. It was these dealerships that got either sold off or just closed forever. Harrington sadly was one of those that went after being there since the 1930s. Hanson Dorset, again, another old dealership. I think that went too. Now, and of course Barons did, and I was really sort of heartbroken with Barons, because I'd seen it sort of rise over the years, from being a kid when they were just at Blackpool, and to a 7-acre site at Chorley, which is now a housing estate. And it was be the premier dealership in the northwest. Anyway, let's not reminisce too much about that. Catterick have two branches at, I think it was Birtley, Tyneside, and also at York, which was Ebor branch. It used to be Ebor Caravans. Now, Ebor was again one of the Discovery groups, because Barons bought Ebor back in the early 2000s, and it became Barons, of course, and Discover came in, so those signs went down, it became Discover, and then when Discover went, Catterick stepped in, they took over, and same with up at Birtley, dealership there. Now, Ebor have been there a long time. The bid had a very up and down time of Ebor, to be quite honest. I've not been to Ebor Caravan since I think Barons had it, so that's a long time ago, and I've not been at all. Now, I don't think it was a very big dealership from what I can remember, but I can remember going there certainly in the late 80s and early 90s a few times, and they used to have a lot of old vans there as well, which was quite good. Because back then you used to get a lot more individual manufacturers on the dealers' forecourts, some quite rare vans as well. And I think I did an eldest, might have been a 35 anniversary or something, I can't remember which now, and I got a 1971 eldest Tornado that turned up at Ebor, and I was in that area, and so I went and took some photographs of it. But they were quite common, and things like that. 70s vans were still common on dealers' forecourts at that time. But anyway, Catterick took it over. Now, a friend of mine who dips into there, who lives not too far away, said it's been looking a little bit overstocked. He said there's a lot of 8 foot wide vans in there, and I think the market for 8 foot wide vans is going to become saturated. And I think people are going to say, "What have you got to bring in?" Oh, it sounds like it's an 8 wide. I don't know. I can see the 8 foot wide van sort of doing its cycle. Also, just going on to about dealers. My mate at the Caravan place, Mark, and I watched these things. Is it all over? Bit of clickbait there. But on about electric cars now. I was on about this about 5 or 6 years ago, pre-COVID, and people, talk to some of the manufacturers and say, yeah, everything's going fairly well. Yeah, we're fairly busy. And I said, it was a dark cloud on that horizon. I said, what's that, Andy? And I said, it's the electric car, because they're going to start thrusting that down our throats. And no matter what, maybe you've seen on YouTube, electric cars are not ideal for towing trailers of horse boxes or caravans. They're just not designed for it. And manufacturers really would probably say, actually, we don't want you to tow with our electric vehicles. They're not designed for towing a weight. And I think that's entirely true. I personally think the electric car will have a big effect on touring caravans up to a point. Mark on about hydrogen again. That's been a few that have been kicked around for years, but I think we might start seeing that come in. And I've noticed as well. I think Dacia on one of their cars, they're also doing an LPG version. Now LPG came around in the sort of like, if I can remember, in the 90s. I remember a guy I used to work with, he had a big Jeep Cherokee, real petrol gas guzzling thing, and when he got it, I said, well, it's going to cost you a bit in fuel, and he went, no, it's been converted to LPG and it's a lot cheaper. Now, strange enough, a few years later, I had an LPG and a petrol car. It was a Proton. It wasn't mine personally. I had it on test for a week, and I could go to a fairly local garage and put LPG in, and you could switch it over between petrol and LPG. Now, I think that has got to possibly be the way forward. LPG, don't quote me on this, I don't think it creates the quite amount the gases maybe that diesels and petrols do. But don't quote me on that, I'm not absolutely sure. So, I'm speaking of an experience there. But I wonder if LPG might make a creep back in again, because I just don't think electric cars are the answer now. Sales are down on electric cars. I'm reading all sorts of things about production being cut on electric cars, unsold electric cars. And yes, you can tow the odd ones, no doubt you can. But, as Mark said, when it comes to charging your car up with your Caravan on the back, there's been no thought about anybody with a trailer on. And as far as I'm aware of, I think it's against the law, I think, in service stations to have a trailer or a caravan, well, same difference in a lot of ways, unhitched from the tow vehicle. Also, there's the possibility of theft. The electric car has just been designed literally to say, right, that's it, that's where you're going. You've got 250 miles range. If you want to go more than that, it's going to cause you a bit of grief. So, hopefully you won't travel as much, and that means the roads won't be as busy. Pollution-wise, well, we know that at the end of the day, a car has got to be charged up, and that power's got to come from somewhere. If it's nuclear, well, we've got all the nuclear waste, and no one's ever seems to think about that. That lasts for thousands of years. To me, that's worse than any possible greenhouse warming effect with diesel and petrol, to be honest with you. I think nuclear power it's great on paper, but it's the aftermath of it all and getting rid of the waste, which you can't, and it's very, very dangerous, as we all know. And there's been leaks over the years from the power stations, and those are what we know about. We don't know if there's been ones that have not been told. There's a big rise in a lot of cancers, and is that one of the reasons? We don't know. Just a theory. Again, one of those. But anyway, yes, and I think Mark's quite right on that. And I think car sales are down due because, I mean, I can't afford to change my car now, but I would have been looking now at changing my car. I would probably be looking at another Skoda Karoq, but there's not a new model been launched as yet or talked about. I'm glad to see that you still get the Karoq at in the current range, and Kodiaks and Superbs still with a new, more leaner burning diesel engine. And I just hope, I wouldn't like to see the end of the diesel engine. I think they could definitely develop that more, and which you really need to tow caravans. And over the years I've been looking at all these caravans, I've been getting big twin axles and things, and I'm thinking these are potential dinosaurs, you know, because if the electric revolution did take place, there's nothing going to tow them. It's as simple as that. You're going to stick them in the field, you're going to put them on site, pay £3,000-4,000 a year for rent, for putting your van on there. If you're going to do that, what do? Do you say, well, do you know what, I'll get a second-hand static caravan, which it may cost me 15-20 grand for quite an oldish one, but if it's in good order, all the family can come. I don't have to go off and get the water or change the loo, because everything is there. And you don't buy a holiday home with an end value. You're going to use it and make sure you use it to the full. Bring the family, your friends, all that sort of thing. So there's lots of things that, the caravan manufacturers have got to look at. And I sort of suggested, again, 5 or 6 years ago, that really all the caravan manufacturers in Europe should have got together, had a meeting with the car manufacturers, said, look, where's this leave us, guys? Because, our industry is worth millions and millions of pounds. And we need to, we need your vehicles to pull our caravans, and maybe bring people like the horse box people in as well, the horse box trailers, because they're heavy, and then you get a horse in there, you've got to have something pretty meaty to pull that trailer. So there's that. Sorry if I'm going on a bit ranting, I don't mean to. I just get a bit fired up by it all, really. Because, I know there's been people proing electric cars for towing, and I just think that is completely, I think that's fallen on stony ground personally. And, as I say, electric cars aren't designed for towing caravans. They may be, some of them might be able to tow a certain caravan, but after that, really, I don't think it's doing those electric motors a lot of good. They're not as durable, I don't think, as a combustion engine, which has got more grunt than an electric one. Okay, electric's got the torque, but to me, it's like, my old petrol mower against my electric fly mower. If I was going to go through through long grass, even with a decent fly mower, chances are I'm going to do it some damage. I could even burn the motor out. Where the petrol one, yes, okay, it may stall, but you can start it back up again and you'll get the job done. So if you've got a strimmer. Anyway, let's get off that bit. Now, my next bit of news is some sad news, actually. And it's some news that I found out about a colleague, well, one of my old bosses, actually, through a friend of ours who knew him. A guy called Bob. Bob was the editor and founder of the magazine, Scottish Caravan magazine, which I started writing for in 2004. I started doing a few reviews, and I started bringing car tests in, motorhome stuff in, a bit of static caravan stuff in. And in the end, Bob and I became quite good chums. We would argue about caravans, motor, we would argue about sites, but we never had a fallout argument. You know what I mean? We would have good, friendly, and we had to have a laugh after it, and we might pull a quirky bit of a joke later on about what we've been arguing at, to annoy the other person. Bob was very outspoken, and I like that because he didn't mince his words. And I remember once we'd had a bit of a fallout with Bailey when the lunch value tech thing, and I'd had a bit of a disagreement, and I was the only journalist at that time in the magazine world that actually said, I'm sorry, but I don't think this is the answer. I don't think the Caravans look particularly attractive. I think the interiors don't look brilliant on the new Pegasus as it was then. You know, I said they're going to be stuck with that body shell. They're not going to be able to do anything with it. And it will still have problems. The good thing I did like about it was that they'd taken the wood out the sides, but still left the floors with wood. Anyway, and Pegasus 1 I don't think did sell very well. Olympuses I thought were dreadful Caravans until the Mark IIs, and they were somewhat a lot better in all fairness. But the thing I think made us like, and this was Bob again, was the fact is that it won the Caravan Club, one of the Caravan Club Caravans of the year or something, the Olympus Mark II, and 6 months later they were dropped. So there you go. Now Bob was, as I say, we had some very good times together. We did a lot of trade shows. We did all the major shows. And Bob did a lot of towing, even into his late 70s. But in sort of by sort of 82, 83, he was slowing down. And with COVID and everything and what have you, you know, he just basically withdrew from caravanning, full stop, and the industry. Now, as I say, he'd founded Scottish Caravanner magazine. It was a magazine that he actually funded himself. He always wanted this dream of having it more nationwide. He was at the shows with it. I used to push it as much as I could. I used to do a lot of car reviews, and I think we counted up. I did about 260 cars, I think, over a certain amount of years, motorhome stuff, which Bob wasn't doing before. And Bob used to like doing his touring features and his part reviews, and he'd do the odd caravan review as well. But yeah, I remember we had this fallout, and anyway, Bob heard about this, and he said to me, "Andy, I'm not letting it go." And I said, "Look, Bob, just leave it. It's not worth the hassle." No, he says, "No, come on, we're off down." And we went down to the Bailey stand. I can remember it now. I mean, I didn't really get a word in, but oh, Bob, he didn't mince his words. You know, he was there fighting my corner for me, and I never forget that. And he did that on more than one or two occasions, especially with the club as well. There was quite a bit of controversy with the Caravan Club, me and my big mouth, and again, Bob got involved, and yes, he voiced his opinions. Sometimes it did him more harm than good, but on the whole, he said things with conviction, and he was a big fan of Coachman caravans, and he always managed to wandle a new coachman every now and again, and you know, I don't know how he did it, but he did it. But they respected what he did, and they knew he was using that caravan 90% of the time, which he always was doing. Comes winter as well, didn't make any odds. Now what I'm going to do a little separate video for Bob in the next few weeks, for myself really, because I remember some of the good times, some of the tests I did in the magazine. I've still got all the copies of the magazine. I never threw them away, and I look through them now and again when I sort out the archives with fondness, really. You know, some of the stuff we did, some of the testing we did, it was chucking down with rain or it was snowing, you know, and Bobby on the phone, "Andy, have you got that through yet? Have you got that through yet? When are we getting the photograph? When are we doing this? You know, can you get that done? Can you do this?" You know, and it was pressured, you know. But I really did. I did enjoy it. I'm going to miss him. I hadn't spoken for Bob for 3 years last time I spoke to him. I was on the phone, and strangely we got cut off, and I asked him to contact me, but he never did. So I think he was getting to a stage where he was slowing right the way down, and he'd always been a very active guy. I mean, he smoked heavily, but my God, he was a fit guy. You know, he would muscle around with caravans and pull them and push them, but a few years ago he did have he bought an old Compass caravan, and he was going to just start doing it up, and he was on some ladders and he fell, and he broke, I'm not sure he broke a couple of ribs, I can't remember now, or his collarbone, and I think from there on really that Bob realised that he wasn't quite as invincible, and age was going to catch him up. I think if he hadn't maybe done that, who knows, but you know, he may have just carried on just keeping the back. There was some talk about him coming to the NEC a couple of years ago, and I was really looking forward to seeing him, but he didn't make it. So yeah, I owed a lot to Bob, because he let me do virtually what I wanted in the magazine, and then I just ring you up, Bob. I was thinking, yeah, you get on with it. Get on with it. Or as he said, get on with it, my son. You get on with it, my son. And yes, I'll take, yeah, do me 2 pages, do me 3 pages, yeah. I mean, it was like that. So, and I got to know a lot of the Scottish dealers, some of the sites, through Bob, and I used to do the Glasgow show for must have been about 14, 15 years on the trot, and I used to man the stand with Bob sometimes, and he had his daughter there, and Rab, his son, and we had some great times. We'd go out for a meal at night. It was just good fun. It's an end of an era, and I feel quite sad. Well, I do feel very sad about it, and I know some of the viewers of the channel, people like Ian McLean and Nigel Burland, they were keen readers of Scottish Caravan magazine, and they loved Bob. Everybody knew him at the show. It was just incredible. People just came in and he said, "Hello, my darling," or "Hello, hen," and people go, "Hello, Bob, how you doing? How's it going?" And all this. And it was great. He did have a very good way with people. He was a very people person, and he was just passionate about what we did and about the magazine, and that passion rubbed off onto me. I was writing a lot for Practical. I was writing for a lot of the other magazines, but for Bob it was just a bit different. It was more of a personal thing. So anyway, I'm going to stop rambling, and as I say, sorry this vlog's been a bit depressing. I didn't mean it to be, but every now and again we've got to let the truth come through, haven't we? So as I say, I will be doing a little vlog, especially on Bob. I know there won't be anybody who probably really remembers him on my channel, but I just want to do it for my own, just for Bob really, and yeah, that's it. Just one last little footnote is the Caravan story book. Yes, I'm just about finished at that, so we're hoping that's going to be out in February. And Bob, something that Bob always did, he always pushed me books. He always pushed the calendars as well, and he used to sell quite a few calendars for me through the magazine. Right, I'll see you on the next video, and thank you again for watching and for putting up with this bit of a strange vlog. Thanks again.